Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Mary Akehurst. I am your host for this evening's session called The Pathway to Better Mental Health. I live in Minnesota. My family and I serve in ministry locally, nationally, and abroad. We find as we're out and about, we encounter many people with mental health issues. I'm so glad you're here to learn more to this listen and learn session. Each month's Learn More session includes a teaching on a health topic shared by an expert, info on nutraceuticals that activate our bodies at the cellular level, and the international company LifeVantage, unmatched in its research and science. For me, it started by asked to be monitoring a team of people taking the flagship product and watching their lives change, including being cleared by doctors to get off meds for mental health. My husband and I experienced positive changes in a variety of health ways ourselves, and knowing what we know, the best thing I can do for others is to share this information. We had somebody else that just jumped in. Dates I want you to mark down before we get into the formal presentation is this coming Sunday from 7 to 8:30 in Minnesota. I will be hosting an in-person gathering. If you would like to come to that, please RSVP with the person who invited you to tonight's Zoom session. And then next month, we'll have a similar Learn More session on Zoom. The topic will be on ADD, ADHD, and autism with the same speaker that's talking tonight. I want to start off by saying the person that invited you is a good friend. We're creating a team of people with a mission to educate on activating health and well-being. Our vision is to see individuals and families living vibrant lives on purpose. If joining our team is something you would like to do and learn more about, we can talk about that later. But let's get on to tonight's topic. So here we are in January. Obviously, it's one of the coldest months of the year, but January is documented as one of the most challenging months of the year for people struggling with mental health issues. You may be one of those persons, or know someone with depression, anxiety, seasonal affective disorder, or other mental health issues. I'm excited to hear what our speaker has to share. Jacquelyn Sheppard is a grandmother, a researcher, an educator, a health counselor, co-founder with her husband of International Prayer Ministries, and author of Silent Takeover, Overcoming Mental, Emotional, and Addictive Disorders. She and her family live in Missouri. I've been to her farm. She's been up to Minnesota. She's authentic and wants the best for everyone. For over 60 years, her counseling, research, and teaching concerning the body and brain have transformed many lives. During her busy and fulfilling life, she began experiencing memory loss. It runs in her family, and others thought there wasn't hope. However, she discovered a new path 14 years ago that led to full recovery. And now, a few days from her 81st birthday, she'll tell us about her experience and a little of what she's learned. Jackie has done years of research on the causes behind mental, emotional, and addictive disorders, and has studied the genetics of it, why people in certain families experience this. Some of you have heard her teach on the addiction pathways. Tonight, we'll talk about the mental. I personally feel called and dedicated that God did not make us this way. There is something we can do about it, and that you might not find in your doctor's office that can help. If you're interested in getting off the old pathway and onto the new one, this journey is for you. So Jacquelyn.
Are you ready for me, Mary?
I would love you to just tell us a little bit about what you've learned. Yeah.
I'm excited to do that, and it's a lovely group of ladies we have here tonight. Yes, I'm often asked, how did you get interested in mental, emotional, and addictive disorders? Well, I guess you could say I was born into it. I am from a family that has had significant mental, emotional, and addictive disorders. And while I was growing up, I was one of the younger family members. My father had 12 brothers and sisters. He was the youngest. And so his brothers and sisters were already grown, married with children, older than I was when I began to pursue this. Over the course of the next 15 or 20 years, 4 of them committed of my first cousins committed suicide. Mental, emotional, addictive disorders. So I began researching quite early, trying to figure out why would my beautiful and smart cousins make decisions like this. And I feel very privileged and blessed that along the journey, I met some wonderful medical doctors who began to teach me so much. And when we got a computer and Google, I was able to get in research papers I'd never been able to get into before. And I began to unravel a lot of what I had thought. Do these run in families? They tend to run in families. Why? Is it just a family of losers? Is it just a family with personality disorders? Is it just a family that doesn't know how to successfully live life? I didn't find that those were the answers. What I found, the deeper I researched, was there was something wrong in the body, and what was wrong in the body affected the mind. That's why my book, Silent Takeover, says how the body hijacks the mind. Now, first of all, I want to talk to you tonight a little bit about what mental disease is. I'm going to hopefully share my screen. And as I'm doing this, I would like for you to put in the chat box if you have a friend or family member who has been diagnosed with a mental disease or an emotional disorder, and put in the chat box what it is. You can put in bipolar, you can put in depression, you can put in whatever. Let's see what we find, because I want to talk specifically about some of that. And I'm going to try to share my screen a little bit here. And it does not appear that any of them are in here. They were a few minutes ago. They're not in here now. So, I'm going to have to talk from it. Let's see if I can even pull them up. Okay, Mary, what are you seeing when I'm screen sharing?
Nothing yet.
How about now? Can you see anything?
Nope.
Or are you still seeing me?
I see you. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm just going to talk from these notes that I'm pulling up, because I have this mentally ill computer, I think.
Okay.
All right. When we're talking about mental health disorders, sometimes you'll hear people say mental health disorders. Sometimes they will say mental diseases. A lot of that just has to do with word choices. Some of it means that a disorder has moved into a disease. When you're talking about mental illness, you're talking about a wide range of mental health conditions. These are disorders in your mood, disorders in your thinking, and disorders in your behavior. So when we talk about examples, we'll talk about depression, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, eating disorders, addictive behaviors, and so forth. Let's see if this one will show up. Mary, did this one show up for you? Types of mental health problems. Are you seeing that?
I'm just seeing your screen being highlighted.
Well, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to run through these. The types of mental health problems, if some of you may have had family members or even yourself. Anger. Now, we can all get mad. We can get angry. We can get upset. But anger can become such a destructive behavior. And a lot of times it comes from destructive thinking, as well as the way people draw conclusions about what is being said or done. Anxiety and panic attacks, bipolar, body dysmorphic disorder. And borderline personality disorder. We're just going to hit these real quick till I hear what you want to talk about. Depression, disassociation and dissociation disorders, eating problems, hearing voices, hoarding, hypomania, mania, loneliness. So if you know of anyone who's having those, I would like for you to put in the chat box. And I'm trying to see if we have any in the chat box at this time.
Yeah, I see one of the guests typed in granddaughter has borderline personality disorder.
Okay, then we will certainly look at that. Mary,
Okay.
can you
And
see
depression.
oxidative stress?
Someone else said depression.
Okay, I'm going to try to share this again, and it's just not going to let me. Mary, while I'm talking, I want you to jump on pubmed.gov
Okay.
and see if your screen will let us see it.
Okay.
Now, since I've worked for so many years with people's children, I've worked as a teacher, I've worked with ADD, ADHD, autism, worked with disturbed children. I've family and adolescent counselor. I've seen many, many mental health disorders. And it's been interesting to, as I've talked with the parents, sometimes the school counselors as well, they will often refer to it as a family disease inherited. Sometimes there's been a very traumatic experience that that introduced some mental or emotional disorder into a family. But for the most part, they will say things like, well, my grandmother was a little bit crazy, or my granddaddy had to be put in a mental institution.
Someone
So
else
when
put
you
in
hear these
anxiety.
things, you begin to, as we know now, so many times what's happening are certain is an inability to make certain neurotransmitters to the level that is needed, or in another case, it's antioxidant enzymes. And when these antioxidant enzymes are not working properly, you're not making enough of them, your neurotransmitters will be malfunctioning. Now, can you all see Mary's screen? Can you all see Mary's screen? Jen, can you see Mary's screen? Okay, you can see it. Right, now I'm going to see if it'll let me. It won't. Mary, type in oxidative stress for me, please.
Sure.
Mary and I both are having problems with our Zoom cooperating tonight. Happens a lot. All right, oxidative stress. As some of you know this, for some of you, it's a brand new term. What it means is that your body makes some little bad guys called free radicals. It makes them when you eat food. It makes them when you exercise, a lot when you exercise. It makes them when you're pumping the gas in your car. It goes crazy making free radicals. These free radicals come from herbicides, pesticides, ozone. They can come from smoking. They can come from drug abuse. But one of the ways that we sometimes forget about is they can also be built from emotional stress. And a lot of people, in fact, almost everyone I know right now is in the highest emotional stress they've lived in due to circumstances in the world. And it's not just the economy, it's the culture, as well as the unrest among nations. So we're building more free radicals. The body is designed to lower these free radicals. You make antioxidant enzymes, you make them. These are not antioxidants you take, your body makes them that counteract these free radicals. But as you age, you decline 10% every decade in the antioxidant enzymes you make. So therefore, your free radicals go up because your antioxidant enzymes are coming down. And somewhere in there, there's a tipping point. How does this relate to mental disease? Children with ADD, ADHD, autism, or a mental or emotional disorder in childhood will have a very high amount of free radicals. they're supposed to have barely measurable. They may have as high as a person with dementia. They're going to have very high free radicals, and they're going to have a low production of these antioxidant enzymes. A child should have such a low amount of oxidative stress and such a good, healthy, self-regulating amount of antioxidant enzymes that they're a normal child. But you think about how many children you know now that are struggling with a mental, an emotional, learning, or a behavior problem. If there's something that can be done about that, I want to do it. And therefore, I spend most of my time doing exactly what I'm doing right now. I am teaching people, yes, there's hope and things can be changed. So Mary has typed in oxidative stress. This is a condition in your body when your antioxidant enzymes are overwhelmed by your free radicals. Mary, let's put a little dash in there. Put a little dash in there, and then put in, let me look down here in the chat box and see what we want to put in. Let's just borderline personality disorder. Can you type that in for us, Mary? Borderline. It's got to go back. Borderline.
Yeah.
Okay.
9 results.
Results talking about the role of oxidative stress in borderline personality disorder. All right, now let's go back to where we were, Mary, where you had oxidative stress. Get rid of borderline personality disorder and type in depression.
Over 5,000.
Okay, let's see what, yeah. We've got 5,145 results. This first one, role of oxidative stress in depression. You see, I'm not making this up. These are clinical studies from hospitals, universities, peer-reviewed. They have to have 3 peer reviews before they can be considered for publication, because this is the top medical research site internationally. Okay, let's get rid of depression and type in ADD. Now they're changing this to ASD, so some of this may not pop up this way.
831.
That's talking about something else. Type in there, let's put in ADHD and see if we can get them to pop up, because it pulled up something else there. Now see what it pulls up. Okay, this will help you to see this. You see what we've got here? Oxidative stress. Mary, go back to that first one for me.
To pull it up.
And psychiatric disorders, do you see this? Evidence from the bidirectional Mendelian randomization study, whatever. So as you go down through this, and you can do this when we get off, you can go to pubmed.gov, the National Medical Library is what it is. You can study any disease you want to, but make sure that you study the role of oxidative stress. Mary, go back now and put in oxidative stress and anxiety.
Over 2,000.
Over 2,000 on oxidative stress. Now we're going to do something a little bit risky here. Go back to oxidative stress and type in gambling. No, leave oxidative stress and get rid of anxiety and type in gambling.
59.
What?
59.
59 clinical studies indicating, and it's not going, we may find one right out here front and center, but when you go through reading these, they're going to include gambling. Why? Because gambling is tied into the production and utilization of dopamine. Okay, now let's go back up here and let's see if I can I had a, well, I'll just talk this one through with you because Mary, you can stop screen sharing
Okay.
because I think that most of you are going to know what a neurotransmitter is. Some of you may have even been on an antidepressant. Let's say you were on Zoloft, maybe you were on Wellbutrin, maybe you're on Prozac, Paxil. There's so many of them. And the doctor told you, you answered a lot of questions. And then the doctor said, I'm going to put you on a selective serotonin uptake or something, an SSI, which means he was going to recycle one of your neurotransmitters called serotonin. Now, serotonin is the neurotransmitter that when you make enough and you can utilize it well, you're feeling good about the world. You're getting up, the world's a pretty good place. When you're not making enough, you are in the pits. If you're making too much, you could become psychotic and do some really horrible things. That's the neurotransmitter serotonin. What about dopamine? You're hearing a lot about dopamine in the news. Well, one of the things that we began to find out about dopamine probably 20, 30 years ago was when they created the drug Levodopa for Parkinson's. They did some clinical studies in nursing homes, and the nursing home people began acting outrageous. Some of them started gambling. Now, I don't know how you gamble in a nursing home unless it's with bingo. Some of the old men and women, when the staff would walk in their rooms, they were watching very perverse things on their television sets. And the staff was like, Mr. So-and-so, you don't mean to have that on. And they would insist that they were going to watch it. Some of them started swearing. So the children of these nursing home patients, as well as some of the staff, began saying to the doctors, they're going, something's happening to their personality. Miss So-and-so's been here for years. She's the nicest, kindest old lady, and now we can't do anything with her. So the doctors began writing this down, and they tracked it back to too high a level of dopamine. The medicine Levodopa had caused the dopamine to be too high. So a lot of these things like gambling, swearing, perversity, all of these, they were like, wait a minute, we got the dopamine too high. So irregular dopamine, and you're going to get dopamine anytime you get a reward. If you scored a touchdown, you got a big thing of dopamine. The crowd applauds, you're going to get a lot of dopamine. Playing a video game, virtual living as you're watching these things can give you more dopamine than you need, or if you're really low, you're going to find yourself drawn to things that are going to give you dopamine. I can go on and talk about glutamate, GABA, all tons of your, not tons, but so many of your neurotransmitters, because they're all connected to your body. They're made in the gut, not in the brain. So your serotonin made in the gut, utilized in your mind. If it is irregular, or if it is not efficient in how it's used, you're going to think differently. You may think erratically. You may be in the depths of depression. You may be suicidal. Now, the doctor gives you an antidepressant. Maybe it will work. I have had a very few people through these years that they got it right on the first time. Quite often, the doctors are having to continue to give these till they find one that works. And in the meantime, they may be doing some talk therapy. Someone may be in counseling, trying to sort of right the way they think, because these neurotransmitters change very rapidly. When you smile, your neurotransmitters change. You're going to get a little serotonin. When you hug someone, you're going to get a boost of oxytocin, which is a hormone used as a neurotransmitter. So up here in this brain, you've got all of these little neurotransmitter chemicals swirling around. They've been made in your gut for better, for worse, depending on the condition of your gut. They are going up through the neural pathway to cause you to think the way you think and do the things that you do. And sometimes we hit places in our life where we're like, am I going crazy? Now, when I was having memory loss, I wasn't sitting around going, oh, is it serotonin, dopamine, GABA, dopamine? I knew it wasn't a neurotransmitter. I knew it had something to do with the left side of my brain and the right side of my brain not connecting properly. Because if you have a thought over here, it's got to come over here for you to really do the action. So I knew something wasn't right. Well, what we know now, and so much of these are new discoveries, is if you're not making enough of the antioxidant enzyme glutathione, you're not going to have good connections between your left hemisphere of your brain and your right hemisphere of the brain. That's why with autistic children, quite often, they have a fully developed language over here. But that language has to get over to their right side to speak. So they're knowing what they're trying to say over here. Nobody can understand what they're saying. This happens also with a stroke. It can happen with all sorts of things. So these children are extremely frustrated and can be angry, hitting things, going crazy because they know what they're trying to say and nobody can understand them. So what happens when the body starts making more glutathione? The left and the right brain, instead of these connections going crazy, begins to connect. And this happens with mental disease, emotional disorders, as well as with learning behavior problems. Now, when you have, and Mary, I'm about through here, when you have something unreconciled in your brain, whether it's trauma, whether it's something else that's happened to you, it's going to recycle just like a song you heard that you can't get out of your head. It's going to keep going around and around and around until it's reconciled. That's why talk therapy sometimes can really help a person with a mental or emotional disorder, because they can work through steps, often steps to forgiveness, which causes that it breaks that circuit and the person starts thinking about it, or they learn to replace those memories and thoughts with something better. So with mental illness, don't take it as if there's no hope. Don't take it that somehow we've got to find the right medicine. What I like to do, and that's what this is about tonight, we're going to talk more in the questions and answers, is what can you do to change your body that changes your mind? So, Mary, back to you.
Fascinating, Jackie. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here.